The guests and waits are over. All of the speculation about whether the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, will contest, for the office of the President in the 2023 general elections have been laid to rest. The Vice President has thrown his heart into the ring. He is seeking the ticket of the All Progressives Congress against his former boss and Governor of Lagos State, Senator Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and others in the race. We have in the studio a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Chief Chekwas Okore, to give us perspectives on this. Thank you for joining us, Chief, this morning on Daybreak.
It is my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yes. Now, I mean, before we saw the final, declaration, a lot of speculations here and there about whether or not the Vice President was going to run for the presidency, especially because his, former boss has, expressed interest, on that same seat. So we are seeing, reactions trailing that. Yesterday, the former boss, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was asked that his son is vying for that office, and he responded by saying that he does not have any son that is old enough, to run for such an office. What would you say about that?
Well, he responded according to the way the question was framed to him. He has many, there are two ways you can look at it. The other one is biological. He doesn't have a biological child who is up to that age.
But of course, so, I mean, looking at the context.
That is one way. The other way, if you look at it the other way, it is rather derogatory that he has no son that is old enough to contest for the presidency of this country. I say this because he is known to have really mentored so many people from the Southwest to become very prominent citizens, including the Vice President. There are some others who have become governors and ministers, and they all pass through his tutelage. Where I come from the Southeast, the Igbo ethnic group, the prayer there usually is that a son should grow to be bigger than his father. And so when you have brought people up and you see them doing very well, you support them to do even better. That is why, of course, we do a lot of apprenticeship. That is how we bring up our young ones. And the person who is the master of the apprentice, once he's settled him, he expects him to do even better than himself. He doesn't see him as a rival. That is why I'm unable to really come to terms with that other interpretation of what Asiwaju said. So I would rather look at it on the simpler side of the biological aspect. The other side is like drawing a battle line, and it's not very good.
Okay, Chief. Yesterday, with the declaration of the Vice President to contest the presidency,
yes.
I feel like analysts are saying the stakes in the APC have risen.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm not surprised that he eventually declared, because for some time now, very important members of and prominent members of the APC have come together to drum up support for him. And we didn't see him stopping them from doing that. He didn't see it as a distraction. And he must have weighed the support coming from across the country and considered that he has also contributed. And being the Vice President, serving the President up to, perhaps by the grace of God, 8 years, that he will ordinarily, and if you think that way, nobody will blame him, ordinarily be given the option of first refusal, as the Vice President for purposes of continuity. So if he has that kind of feeling about himself and decides to aspire, nobody will, I will not be against that. But the way some people are reacting, those who are opposing him, are behaving as if the contest for the presidential slot of the APC is between the vice president and Senator Tinubu. I don't think so. Everybody knows that it's going to be a contest. And they're also behaving as if the delegates who normally vote for the vice president are delegates who would have voted for Tinubu. In other words,
is it not? I mean, it's not far from the truth, especially if you look at the fact that, I mean, these are all coming. They are all coming from the same zone, you know, the southwest. And given the fact that the APC appear to tilt towards, you know, the southern part of the country for its candidate, you know, in the coming election.
I know you will still come back, because if you don't touch the southeast aspect, then this interview is incomplete, because it's not about southwest now. If you have said it, they'll come to the southern part of the country. And when President Obasanjo emerged, how much of the votes did he get, even the delegate votes, did he get from the southwest to become, I mean, 1999, to become the candidate? So the issue here is that delegates of APC from all over the country, and looking at the configuration, majority of these delegates are definitely going to come from the north. And so it will not depend on the delegates from the south, even if I'm not conceding, though, that Senator Tinubu manages to corner all the votes from the southwest. That will still not guarantee him the ticket. So I believe that Asiwaju has made sufficient groundwork, from what I can observe from a distance. I'm not in his camp, to prove to everybody that he is determined to be on the ballot with or without the APC. And we must have that at the back of our mind, that the effort this man has put in is not effort that is limited to winning nomination in the APC. It's effort that is geared towards contesting.
So in that sense, if you look at that, would you say that, you know, the two coming to contest under the same platform, is that a threat for the APC, you know, when you talk about the future of the APC?
No, it cannot be a threat, because you see, this is democracy. It's not as if Tinubu has control of the delegates from the southwest. The vice president has also come of age politically. He has his own followers. They are going to probably share their votes. Tinubu might have a bigger share. It might, by my own projection, but that does not guarantee anything. And you come to the southeast. In 2015, the southeast contribution to the party APC was minimal. I ran for president in that election. And so, but thereafter, the fortunes of the APC in the south began to grow. By 2019, we started seeing some of the states giving the president 25% of the votes. Some gave 18. The least was perhaps Anambra that gave something less than this. So it is growing. And they're going to have their own share of delegates to that election. And then, of course, in the south, you might say that you even have more aspirants from the southeast and southwest, south-south. It's even good for them in the southwest that there are only two of them, given that no other person
has declared yet.
Has declared yet. Because before now, there are also speculation that the governor of Ekiti says has intentions, and who knows? It could still come tomorrow. But if it's limited to the two of them, good for the southwest. But it's not that a person in the capacity and stature of the vice president should chicken out just because that his mentor says he's running. Suppose even without him, the mentor does not win the nomination, what happens?
Chief Okorie, you said something that caught my attention. You said that all the efforts the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has put into this is not just winning the nomination of a party, but being on the ballot.
Yes.
Are you saying that if for whatever reason he does not get the nomination of the APC, there's a likelihood it could jump ship?
It is as clear as daylight, except if somebody is not reading the political handwriting on the wall.
But would that not be too late? I mean, given
looking
the fact
at
that
the
we
electoral
have a new
act,
he may not allow it to be too late, because he is also somebody who is known to be politically savvy, and he's watching the trend. There will be a time he will tell himself the home truth, and I don't think all his followers have have remained in the APC. I think every politician always has a plan B. Serious contenders always have plan B.
And I'm wondering really the time frame for that plan B to really play out, because this is April, and INEC is already expecting that a list of candidates from the political parties be presented in a matter of weeks.
These things has happened many times over. Let me give you an example. In 2015, Governor Rocha Sokorocha contested for the presidency of this country on the platform of the APC. And there was somebody who became the APC governorship candidate in Imo State, standing in for him. And when he lost the nomination, he took advantage of the window for substitution and returned to do a second term in Imo State. That's just one. There are so many scenarios that can still give Senator Ahmed Tinubu the opportunity to contest. And I can't see him putting all of these efforts and not having a plan B. The man is determined to be on the ballot. Just have it at the back of your mind that I'm saying so.
Okay, but within the APC at the moment, what will you say are the chances of the vice president who just declared yesterday?
Well, it is left for the party to take a good look at that. Not because he has been vice president. In fact, that should even be an advantage to him. But whatever decision the party makes, not only APC, any party for that matter, but especially the two frontline political parties, in this 2023 election, we have political consequences. It will either be for good or for ill. Make the wrong move. This is not like giving somebody some complimentary parting gift or something like that. No, it's a serious business. The presidency of Nigeria is serious.
And if you look at the times that we're in and the caliber of people that are showing interest of being the president of the country, how would you say that we've improved from 1999 till date? Is there any change in terms of the improvement, in terms of the caliber of people that are interested in that seat?
Well, in terms of caliber, we have improved, there's no doubt. Our democracy, including those who are the actors, there's always some improvement going on. But you see, this thing is not about, there are people who are far more qualified than the ones who have stepped forward in this country. But it takes more than being qualified to run for president. First, you have to have the will. Two, you have to have the goodwill. The will is your own. The goodwill is the one that comes from the outside. These things are very critical. And then, of course, you must be a good party person to win nomination in the first place before you are now
which is why a lot of people are saying that, the vice president being an academician in the first place, may not be very grounded in that regard, and so may lose out in the whole process. And
in a follow-up to that, a lot of issues resounded yesterday after the vice president declared. In his declaration, he made it clear that as vice president, he has visited parts of the country. He has come in contact with people from different strata of the society. And he went further to say that he was going to continue from where President Muhammadu Buhari has or will stop.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people are saying that, well, there's the issue of insecurity, which a lot of observers will say that not much has been done by this present administration. So if he's going to be campaigning with issues like that, would that work well for him?
No, well, I do not agree that not much has been done by the present administration. I can tell you that so much has been done. And so much of what has been done will require completion. Those things on ground do not really require anybody that will come and disrupt.
But if you look at the issues of insecurity, definitely many Nigerians are of the view that perhaps we've never had it this bad.
We have never had it this bad.
People are being killed in large numbers daily.
There are so many things honestly, as a politician, I've been expecting from not just the aspirants, but from political parties to address the issue of insecurity. And that is not being done. Insecurity.
So how is that going to rub off on, the person of the vice president? Can he divulge himself really from some of these realities? Are they going to count against
I haven't seen
him?
anyone among the aspirants who can even convince Nigerians, even from the argument that have been made so far, that he has the answer to the security situation in the country. They have been talking. All the aspirants have been talking. All they tell you about is how to improve the economy. And of course, there's nothing innovative in how to improve the economy I've heard from any one of them to say, that is a brilliant idea we've not tested before. So the issue of security has never been addressed by any of them in a manner that will show that there's something new that is coming up. But what I can say that Nigeria has such military arsenal that we never had acquired in the past. Very sophisticated one that have not been put to use. And any person wanting to come and get them properly put to use, and then, of course, address the issue of that security architecture of the country, will be addressing the real problem. But nobody is talking about that. I have not seen the parties address the vexed issue of restructuring. None of them. Not even the aspirants. They think that it is a subject that will make you lose election. But if I'm an aspirant, I will make restructuring the cardinal program of my campaign, because that is what can address insecurity.
Is that really the solution to
It is a big solution. For instance, the issue of state police and community policing will address insecurity at the grassroots. Even the vice president used to promote it, but now that he's running and even in his speech, I saw him withdrawing from that. I don't know why they lack the will to address the fundamental issues. Because
which is why a lot of people actually feel that there is the lack of political will to really deal with this issue of insecurity.
That is the dilemma of Nigeria today, because this is not limited to even Osibanjo or Asiwa. I said none of them, all of them, whether they are 20 or 30 from fringe parties and the big parties, none has had the courage to say, this is what can be done. When you restructure this country and give all the federating units, especially the states, the opportunity to develop at their own pace, that will include security.
Do you believe that the issues of restructuring, for instance, will assuage the tension in the southeastern region of the secession, IPOP and the rest of it?
It is actually fundamental. Once that is addressed today, a lot of the tension in the southeast will come down. Because what is happening in the south is a clear sense of alienation and exclusion, not even allowed to develop at their own pace because of the type of policies and the structure that we are operating in this country. If you go to the southeast today, it is like an occupied territory. You have soldiers and policemen who are like occupation army. All they do is extort money and they do not fight any crime.
But I mean, the troops, the military is everywhere in the country these days.
But that is not what it should be.
Okay, Chief, I want to ask this question. The Southeast, they have been saying that they want the presidency zoned to the Southeast. Are they really serious about it?
Why not?
Because, and then the follow-up question is, it's not enough to just say, I want the presidency. What efforts are people from the Southeast making to make that a reality? Well,
the effort is there, and it is growing in intensity. I'm not just a politician, I'm also an Igbo leader. So there's no level of meeting I heard both at the sociocultural level and the political level that I am not privy to, and most times I'm also active participant. So lobbying across Nigeria, because everybody knows that no one section can produce president by itself, and we had known that long ago. So that lobbying has been on. The political parties, the aspirants, are beginning to do something that they never did before. They are beginning to meet and agree among themselves that they have to focus on producing the candidate either for the APC, from the APC or the PDP. And I understand that very soon, the aspirants from the two parties, across parties, will also be meeting to advance that. That is something that they never did before, because we're always known as people who go individually. We call it republicanism. But that is beginning to give way to some kind of collaboration. But let me tell you what I said about Asiwaju is what I'm going to tell you now about the Igbo people. Igbo will be on the ballot for 2023.
On the platform of which party?
It is in the best interest of the two political parties, major political parties, to choose their candidates from the Southeast. The Southeast has always been underrated in terms of its number and spread. It has always been underrated. Nobody has put it to test. Each time they will use the number in the Southeast as the basis to assess.
But that also comes with the attitude of the people of the Southeast in participating in elections.
Who said that?
The voter apathy in most cases. If you look at the numbers.
Did you look at the numbers that voted in Anambra governorship election?
Well, everywhere there have been voter apathy. Everywhere, not just in Anambra. In fact, Anambra is an improvement to what has happened in other places. There have been elections, off-season elections. I will tell you who has ever analyzed the number of votes coming from Kano, for instance, that are contributed by the Igbo people living in Igbo people of Kano State. Let me put it that way. Who has ever looked at the votes coming from Lagos State? Let me tell you something. With all the APC and Asiwaju influence in Lagos State, what happened in 2019? It's only 100,000 votes that APC used in defeating the PDP. Who made the difference? Nobody has analyzed it.
Okay.
Let me put this one example again. In 2019, for the very first time in this country, an opposition presidential candidate won the election in FCT. That was because of the sentiment attached to P2B. It was not Atiku that they voted for. 2023 is going to be a referendum for Igbo in this country.
All right.
And you see what those different those votes will make.
Do you see the possibility of an Igbo president without the zoning principle, in place?
We are saying that zoning principle must be in place because it has been in place since 1999. Any attempt not to do it is obvious to us that it is a conspiracy to deny Igbo. Now that it has become their turn based on that rotational arrangement that has been there since 1999. And we are not going to war for it, but we are going to be on the ballot, and I say there will be political consequences.
Chief, is it really the turn of the Igbos or
yes,
the South?
Yes, it is their turn. Whichever way you look at it, whether in terms of those geopolitical zones that have been opportune to provide leadership at the presidential level, or whichever way. And in any case, this country started on a tripod.
Okay,
and
what
that
would
tripod
you say,
has not disappeared.
What would you say to those who say, well, it's time that Nigeria, have come of age, and it's time for us to move away from all these, conversations about zoning, and we should focus more on merit. Yeah.
Oh my God, don't go about merit. You just take the thing out of context. So what a time to begin to drop it.
But Chief, don't you believe?
Dr. Alex Ekweme canvassed at the Constitutional Conference that presidency should rotate among the 6 geopolitical zones and with 6 vice presidents, so that should anything happen to the president, the vice president from his own side will complete his tenure. If that had happened, we would have gone around the 6 zones by now. And what happened, unfortunately, to late President Yar'Adua would not have caused any disruption. The vice president from that side, or the geopolitical zone, will have continued to complete that tenure. This idea would not have, but it was thrown away by those who probably thought differently. Chief, and here we are.
Chief, I'm thinking, let's imagine that none of the parties zones their presidency. Don't you believe that an Igbo man can come out and sell himself to the entire country,
no,
zoning or no zoning?
The Igbo people will not sell himself.
Yes, just the country, zoning or no zoning, so that he can be voted on merit.
I am telling you that Igbo will be on the ballot. There's no question about it. Don't forget that the person talking with you here is the founder of ABGA. And ABGA is still alive. And all of those 6 parties that were there by 2003, only 2 still retain their names. Only PDP and ABGA. The others have either been deregistered or have metamorphosed into something else, from APP to AMPP, now APC. Likewise others. Only these 2. It is not for nothing. All that is required is for us to put back life into ABGA, and easily it is standing at the 3rd party. It may be the winning party. As for 2023, Igbo will fly a presidential flag. Let it be known by everybody. But any of the 2 parties that gives this nomination to the Igbo, which they desire so much, I don't think ABGA will be a spoiler. I don't think so. But if they deny, you will see the referendum play out. This referendum I'm talking about will play out in 2020.
Chief, I know some Igbo people from that part of the country have indicated interest. Are we going to see more people from that region declaring soon?
How will I know? Those who have already come out are already feeling the heat of Nigeria. Is a vast country. You know, there are 18 political parties, out of which about 16 or 17, excluding ABGA now. 17 are, 18 political parties. About 15 of them you may call fringe parties. But I can see one of them bouncing into a major contender when what I'm suspecting happens in the APC.
Okay. All right. Now, Chief, you know, finally, before we go, there are those who say that, well, this concept of zoning is an elitist kind of a thinking, you know, in politics, and that ordinary Nigerians do not really care about, you know, where the president comes from, as long as the president, you know, works in their own interest. So, what would you say to that?
That means that nobody, you will accept then that no president has worked in their own interest since which president has worked in their own interest since 1999? Anybody telling you it's elitist, it is the military that handed over this power to civilians in 1999 that introduced all of these rotational things. And the PDP even went further to have it ingratiated in their constitution. APC didn't do as much, but this APC also talked about true federalism. But none of them seem to be talking about it now. And it's so very annoying that PDP is not, some people are now talking about merit. So there are very meritorious presidential aspirants from the Southeast. When did Nigeria begin to be conscious of merit? So what about the quota system? Is it about merit? What about educationally disadvantaged policy? Is it about merit? So if we do not address the issue of inclusiveness and give every section that sense of belonging, a sense that a Nigerian citizen can be proud that he's a citizen and not second class, we are going nowhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chief, for joining us on Daybreak this morning and sharing your perspectives with us. We look forward to having you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And I hope to have you here when we see an Igbo person on the ballot so that you can talk more on that.
I will. If you don't invite me, I invite myself.
All right. Well, that was a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Chief Chekwas Okore, and also the founder of ABGA. That's also a very important one there. Thank you so much for coming again.
You're welcome.
All right.